Sketchcraft is recorded in front of a live internet audience and supported by listeners like you. Please be sure to leave a review on iTunes, like and share our Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All links can be found at sketchcraft.com. That's Sketchcraft, C-R-A-F-T, the name of the podcast.com. Remember, every little bit counts and it all helps to grow the show. Thanks. Welcome to Sketchcraft, the podcast for art, games, and process junkies. I'm Rob Duenas, full-time illustrator and graphic artist Esquire. This is an unedited podcast, which will probably contain strong language, so listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody, I'm Rob D, and if you're just tuning into Sketchcraft for the very first time, you'll hear Brandon shuffling around on the microphone, scruffling up, while I talk about how you should know that we typically rant about art, movie, and geek-related news stuffs chosen by either us or never you, the audience. That's not true. Sometimes, actually I do have something. I'll take that back. Sometimes you do participate, and then like today we'll talk about it. And then we'll delve into a final topic for the remainder of the show. Joining me today is Arizona's very own Brandon James from leadheavy.com. Brandon, say hi.
Hello.
And that's all I want you to say. Excellent. Go away. No. Thanks for joining me, Brandon. With that said, Brandon, let's go ahead and start with some random bits and bytes, and I will let you pick first.
Well, since you're starting off in a happy mood, how would you fix the TMNT movie, Rob, if you could?
You mean creatively or monetarily?
Creatively. Let's go with how you would have went. Let's go with your approach on it, how you would have done it, and then how would you fix the now current?
First, I think we need to start with some prefacing. I did not like the movie and you loved it. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just start from that standpoint, because I think it's important to say that I don't believe the movie is like morally corrupt. It didn't like ruin my childhood or anything like that. I have a bunch of shitty Ninja Turtle products that have come out since 1991 that, you know what I mean? I've just been like, whatever, ever since. So I didn't like Turtles 2 as a kid. I didn't like Turtles 3. That Turtles concert took place in between the first movie and Turtles 2, right? Is what what changed my opinion on a lot of this stuff. Because at first
There was coming out of the shell tour.
There was a concert that they went around the United States, if you're too young to know, called the Coming Out of Our Shells Tour that Pizza Hut did a promotion with. You got the free soundtrack when you order a pizza, right?
Yeah.
It was awesome. Well, that was the idea. Was awesome. I get the soundtrack to the Turtles while I'm eating my pizza. Yeah, and you watch the fucking Ninja Turtles movie, which has dominoes in it. Strange. And I was so excited, wanted to go, couldn't go, got my fucking tickets. My mom was dating some guy. He took his kids instead. It was fucking... It was the best. The night of, oh, you're not going. He's taking his kids. So I hated that. I peed on that guy's car. And then, that's true. And I was white trash. So, and then I got the movie on the pay-per-view. I was able to talk to my dad and let me get that. And I brought my friend over. We're going to watch it. And I was like, this is awesome, right? And he was like, well, and then about, 10 minutes into it, he was like, this is really bad. And I looked down, I'm like, but it's cool. It's the Turtles. It's got April and na. And I'm looking at them, and they're wearing like wristbands and lederhosen. And
stars over their eyes.
Stars over their
jean
eyes.
Jackets.
Their mouths don't even move. They're just in a perpetual frozen grin, like Smilex, the Joker thing, his Smilex stuff. And I just looked at them, and I remember just turning it off and going outside. You know what I mean? And I still listen to the soundtrack because as corny as it was, it kind of made me feel good about the Turtles. But I knew I could never listen to that soundtrack around anyone else. Except my one friend Richard. My one friend Richard and I would listen to it and go, it's awesome, fuck everyone. But no one else liked that shit. And I ended up having a case of these coming out of the Shells Tour Turtle tapes. My dad did security. He owned a security company, and they covered a lot of the Pizza Huts. And they had to get rid of this shit. He's like, I got all this stuff, and it was just a case of these tapes. And I was like, this is awesome. I got a case of these tapes. I don't know what to do with it, but it was awesome. You know what I mean? You're like, they're
Right.
all mine. And I would hand them to friends. Eventually, we'd end up like using them as fucking baseballs and ninja stars and shit. So, because there's nothing you can do with it. But that's how I feel about this movie. Is that it has the turtles. You know what I mean? They're doing turtle stuff, but I just want to look away from the screen. And I'm not even going to get into the aesthetics. You know what I mean? I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to talk about a very structural problem with the movie that I have. And that I have with most B to C grade level, I'd say C grade level superhero movies. And it's really simple. You have characters that have predestined futures. This all, for me, started with the Star Wars prequels in '99. And coincidentally, the same summer The Matrix came out, which at first I thought was going down this path of a person with predestiny. That means they have manifested. They grow up, they are destined to be the hero. No matter what they do, they are going to be the hero. They could be a complete fucking asshole, they are going to be the hero. Right? This movie takes the premise, right? Spoilers, I don't give a shit. Fucking that these things were designed to be fucking pizza eating super badass dudes. You know what I mean? There's no reason, and Shredder has known this, and he's kept it from him, and he knows who April is, and no. And people deliver pieces of information when the script sort of just says it's time to release that now, you know? None of their motivations make any sense. There's no real internal conflict or drama. There's nothing grounded or whatever about it. It's just predestiny, the chosen one nonsense. And I don't participate in that world. You know, there is a structural writing quote that I heard when I was a kid that I believe in to this day. And that's you either have grounded characters in a fantastic world or fantastic characters in a grounded world. And the Turtles movie and the Transformers movies and the fucking new Spider-Man films and the Spider-Man 3, they all end up with fantastic characters in a fantastic world. You catch my drift, Brandon?
Right.
It looks like modern New York, but it's fantastic, wacky New York. You know what I mean? It's not really New York. It's a New York where the police department's talking about the Foot Clan, like the fucking FBI would get them, and the CIA. What do you mean? What is this? The police, the head of the guy. And you know why it's thrown in there? Because these plot elements were not really worked out, and they just throw a bunch of random clips in movies now in the editing room, and look, we covered it in Exposition. And if you want to see this at its worst, the Amazing Spider-Man remake does it in the beginning where he's on Google and then all of a sudden it's full screen, all these random Google things where you search around and seeing newspapers. But the character acts throughout the entire film as if he's never seen that information. And we've
Right.
talked about that on the cast, right?
Yeah.
So about the time I walked out of that movie was actually right when they made the heroes in the half shell joke, because I was like, come on, Will. Come on, Will. You know what I mean? You don't even talk like that. Like if he was the guy who's always trying to come up with puns at that point, like anytime she does something, he's trying to come up with like an action line. Like, you know, I always do that, like where I'm like, oh, that could be fucking. It's jalapeno. You know what I mean? Like that guy.
Right.
But he came out heroes in a half shell. She looks on like, really? You know what I mean? But he just says that because they're being clever. They're throwing that line in the movie. There's no reason for him to say shit like that. He doesn't talk like that. He's trying to get in her pants the whole fucking film. But I bowed out, dude. Like I just couldn't take it. Right before then, because it's the scene right before that where Splinter goes, April O'Neil, we must get her. She's going to be in danger. It's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, you know who April, like, her dad worked in a lab and she gave the turtles pizza and gave them all names. I'm like, come on, really? You know, they all have colored water tanks, you know, and they're blue tanks and a red tank and like, really? Brandon?
So you could tell them apart, Rob.
Really, Brandon? Like, the core of this movie, right? The way into the film, they took the X-Men route, right? April's going to be our way in. The first movie did that in a way, right? Where you see April, she's already a reporter in the first film, the one from 1990. She
Right.
talks about her belief that there's this shadow organization. Everyone says she's fucking nuts. She's reporting about it on TV. But it's edited in a way where then as the audience, you see she's right. So you know she's not crazy. You know what I mean? It's done in a way, and you got to remember that film was edited by the chick who went on to edit all of Quentin Tarantino's films. Sally Menken, I believe her name is, right? Top of my head, haven't Googled. Okay? So they had an A-level fucking editor, right, Brandon, on that
Yes.
film. Whether people knew her or not, she was a badass. This film has it opens up with Splinter narrating this comic book shit that was thrown at the last second, all this exposition, and then crazy shit happens, and then April's acting, she's riding her bike on a bridge in the middle of the night to go back to the docks. What woman in New York would go to the fucking docks in the middle of the night? And they're using the same shots that were like in Batman Begins, that Arrow wiped out, tried to knock off the first season. You know what I mean? Those Wally Pfister, we're at the docks with the big IMAX camera pan in, like trekking on this dock scene, and then she's there with her helmet. You know what I mean? And she's with her phone. And to me, the story should have been very simple. April is the lead-in. Because we don't have our news departments, right? Modern news is like celebrity model bullshit, right? She can't actually be a reporter. That was her dream. Maybe she's got a science degree, because in the comics she was originally Baxter Stockman's assistant, right? So how great would it be if Baxter Stockman's become this Steve Jobs kind of guy? You know what I mean? And he's trying to get into philanthropic stuff where he's trying to clean up the actual city he's going to make the iMouse, right? And it's the Mousers, you know what I mean? Like the iPod for cleaning trash, and he's got all these inventions, and she's getting an internship with fucking Baxter Stockman, but she also has her own podcast or YouTube channel where she reports on weird shit. You know what I mean?
Right,
around
like
the
Bigfoot
city.
And
Bigfoot,
giant
the shadow people, ninja, secret criminal organizations. You know what I mean? And Turtle, like these things, she's got a love for this, but she wanted to always be a reporter, but that doesn't exist, and she's able to do it this way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that gives her that. I mean, I just think I solved the fucking problem right from the beginning, dude. Brandon, with this issue,
Yeah, I like it.
But you don't. But then you need someone cast who can look pretty, but be still nerd capable. And I say, for the lack of a better explanation, you need like an Allison Hannigan, the chick who played Willow. She was also recently on fucking How I Met Your Mother, right? You need someone like her, someone who's roughly our age. You know what I mean? She doesn't have to be super young. Megan Fox ain't that young, bro. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, and you need someone who can act and has a vulnerability. Megan Fox isn't vulnerable. You know what I mean? You don't look at her and feel sorry. I mean, you feel sorry because she's acting. And she's trying to act, and I don't want to pick on her. I'm the guy who said, dude, I think she can be good as April. Remember we were on the cast?
Yeah.
And I said, don't knock Michael Bay or Megan Fox. You know what I mean? She could actually do a good job, But she doesn't act. She gives the worst performance in a movie since Catwoman, bro.
Wow.
I mean, this was painful for me to watch. It felt like there are scenes where Whoopi Goldberg comes out of nowhere. Like, I mean, this scene where she's got all this stuff on a wall, and Whoopi Goldberg comes in. She's supposed to be this newspaper, like a J. Jonah Jameson, right? Or the Lawrence Fishburne, Perry White. And she's like, now, the last time we saw Whoopi Goldberg in this movie, she hates April O'Neil. Now she comes in, she's all pumped. All right, let's do this. And it felt like a scene they added in reshoots. It felt like a scene where now Whoopi's going to coach Megan, give her a chance to kind of like, all right, let's do this, and no. You know what I mean? And let's play up your acting chops. And Megan's trying, but she's a model. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's a model. She's got one expression: mouth kind of open, hair being blown, lens flare. Megan Fox. You know what I mean? That's it. I'm sorry, Megan. She's friends with Diablo Cody. She was in the Diablo Cody movie. She couldn't fucking say actor paper. You know what I mean? That was her chance. Remember that horror movie she did?
Yeah.
Diablo Cody wrote it. They put it together for her after Fallout with Michael Bay. That was her opportunity to earn some street cred. She can't act. She's not an actress. So even with this ridiculous nonsense fucking dialogue, okay, if they had someone who could say it believably, like I kind of like in Con Air, right, to a movie that tries to be a Michael Bay film that has a ridiculous premise and a million plot holes, but is fun to watch. Had the Turtles been more like Con Air, and he at least had people who could deliver this shit in a way, like when Nick Cage says shit, it's a bad fucking accent, but it's not like, it's funny bad. It's not, oh shit, It's like, I'm gonna live forever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's fucking hilarious. Like, I'm down, dude. Give me some fucking...
I think that's just the way I see the Turtles movie, though. Like, it may be
bad. It isn't. It isn't that.
To me, it is.
But imagine if in Con Air he was born to be on that plane. That when he was a little kid, he built this piece of scrap that became his fucking plane. And he was destined to be on that. And all these people were people he knew in high school. You know what I mean? And he was at a Breakfast Club fucking thing with. And they've all grown to... do you see what I'm saying, Brandon? That's the problem with this movie. This movie needs a grounded character and a fantastic world. And it doesn't have that. It doesn't have it. April O'Neil's not a grounded character. She's a fantastic character. The best bit of fucking grounding and acting in the whole fucking film is a little girl who plays her in that fucking camcorder recording. Okay? She's a hot chick who fucking can't get on TV in a day and age when they only hire models. Are you fucking kidding me? You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, Brandon. And they didn't even make her look like a nerd. She's just a hot chick. And they're like, well, they have her bounce on the trampoline. This is all I've become. I'm like, well, you don't have to work there. You can't change the media. Report on your own shit. Maybe she'd get in trouble for. Remember, like in Man of Steel, when she couldn't get the thing, so she handed it out to the internet.
Right.
Like, that's what you do. It's not hard, bro. But I'm sorry, like it just doesn't work for me. And it starts there and works its way across. All the Shredder stuff was added in post. The real Shredder was Wally Fichtner, who should be Baxter Stockman, not Sax or that's just that they want to. They called him Sax because his name is Sex. It's a F you to us, bro. I'm telling you, I know cleverness, Brandon. I get half your stupid jokes. You know what I mean? So fucking, I'm telling you right now, we're 25 minutes into the Turtles fucking movie. I don't think we're ever gonna get past this. It needs a ground run screenwriter. It needs to be. There's April O'Neil. She's a scientist. She's finding out this guy's gonna fucking ruin the city. You know what I mean? He's actually a heist, right? The Mousers were stealing shit, but they end up fucking stealing Splinter. Now maybe he was funded by a criminal organization that happens to be the Foot. You know what I mean?
So how do you fix what's already there? How do you
You can't fix what's there. You have to start over. But they've been successful monetarily, so now I get to sit back and watch them fuck this up like they did with G.I. Joe and Transformers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will get more grotesque and more sexual. I guarantee it, dude. That's it.
I wouldn't say I love the movie, but I was happy to see the Turtles on the big screen again.
I was happy to see Optimus Prime voiced by Peter Cullen with that first movie, dude.
Right.
And I was like, but I got that, and I got these dudes who are kind of like G.I. Joes, and they're driving the old Doom buggies and the motorcycles. I can deal with everything else. I was happy, but then it got worse. Do you catch my drift?
Yeah.
And it will get worse, Brandon. They will make the most disgusting-looking creatures you've ever seen. There will be sex jokes left and right. You'll have a little chihuahua humping fucking Baxter Stockman or Splinter in the next one. You know what I mean? They'll make gerbil jokes and shit, dude. Like, they'll do shit that just... They'll have the ghetto turtle. You know what I mean? With the big gold tooth and shit come out. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't get it, You can't fix what isn't there, dude. In order to fix something, you have to say, well, there's something there, and all I gotta do is take this off and put that on. Structurally, it's fucking broke. How does April grow from the beginning of the film to the end of the film? How does she change as a character? She doesn't grow. Do you catch? None of the turtles grow. They're the same at the end as they were at the beginning.
I think it's just, when I look at it, it's just a movie of turtles doing stuff.
That's what you get.
And
it's the same argument that you fought against with Pacific Rim when people said, well, it's just robots fighting one another. And you said that wasn't good enough. You catch my drift?
See, I
do you see how you backtrack? You recognize that you are blinded by your love of the turtles and you don't care. That's it.
The Turtles movie is bad, but I'm willing to say this is a bad movie I like.
I say let fucking Vince McMahon in charge of the franchise. You know what I mean?
Might as Raphael was huge as shit. He could body slam people.
I'm not talking aesthetics. I'm talking story and structure, right? Everything else, I'm not even getting into that conversation because that is what you make of it. I have drawn the Turtles have looked a million different. I've drawn them a million different ways. I'm not even getting into that. I'm getting into structure. The weight of Splinter's revenge is that his master and his master's wife were murdered at the hands of the brother of the man he murdered. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's 100-year shadow war between a clan that broke up because of the love of a woman. That's the soul of their conflict. They have removed that and inserted in George Lucas's prequel bullshit Chosen One nonsense. I fucking don't care for it. I'm done with it, dude. The first Matrix movie started off with that, and then she went and told, there is no fucking Chosen One shit. You just had to believe in yourself. Use the Force, Luke. and turn it back into you were the chosen, and there have been many chosen ones. No, there was no chosen one. You know, he just had to believe in this bullshit because he had to believe in himself, and he was a man who didn't believe in himself.
Right.
You know, and the more he learned about the world, the less he believed in himself because he knew the odds were stacked against him. You know what I mean? But his mind, the force, is what gives you the power to rise above the strength of the dark side. Do you understand that? There's soul there, Brandon. This is a soulless film. It is literally a lens flare, okay? Not using lens flares like Spielberg did to convey supernatural elements or light or supernatural stuff, right? Like when he uses lens flares to show spaceships moving around, it's because if you show a spaceship too much, you pinpoint the future and the fantastic, and that can remove people from the equation. Do you understand? Why you show light? Because it gives you a sense of angelic interpretation. You know, it allows you a bit of interpretation. But if you show an actual spaceship, you'll be like, well, that would never work. You know? Like, that's nonsense. So
Yeah.
you got a little bit of impressionism to get the audience to project. But when you use lens flares to paint the whole fucking screen, you know what I mean? Left and right, no reason for it, you know? Then you got just a hollow technique. Catch my drift?
Yes. Are you want to pick a topic now?
So speaking of structure, I just finished Game Cave writing. The outline is done. All 21 chapters are completely written out. It's about 20,000 words. I put it up for the backers to download and look through. Today and tomorrow, I've already got it in my Scrivener. Today and tomorrow, I'm rereading, and there's a bunch of stuff in the back of the book that I need to also, I don't say foreshadow, but pepper some of those elements in one way or the other in the front, you know? Because the characters grow, you know? They have to grow. So, but there is a certain point structurally where you can't introduce new information to a story. Like, it's just like, tread on your own worry. That's where Shyamalan fails, right? In a movie where you just get that one bit at the end, you know? No one knew. And that's the spin. And it's not spin. It's like, yeah, no shit, fucker. So, yeah, I'm in the middle of that. And then last time we did a cast, I was a little down. I don't know, down. I was trepid about talking. I don't like to talk up anything I do, Brandon. You know,
Right.
like, there's many reasons for that, but mostly I don't ever like the cocky asshole.
I thought you were kind of vulnerable.
Well, I was talking about actual fears. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like if I spend this time with these characters, I'm writing this stuff, and everyone's like, "Your writing sucks." I'm just like preparing myself for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And dealing with it. So, someone said that, you know, I think it was Hollow Gazer was saying up on Deviant, you know, oh, you know, you feel real down and no. And I'm like, look, I'm not like, I suck. Like, it's not George McFly territory, right? Where it's like, oh, I just can't take confrontation and I suck and no. It's just that let me see what he says. He's like, I don't think I've ever heard you being pessimistic like this on a podcast as you were talking about writing your own story. But would you consider making a podcast about the writing process? He said, preferably with James, because you don't know anything about writing a story, Brandon. And then
Thank you.
I added that last part. I don't know if you knew that. It seems like you're working in a very structured manner, so I'd like to be interested in how you write. Like, when do you create the characters, the overarching storyline? How do you flesh out your characters? Okay, I'm going to do a whole cast on this, Hollow. I really will. I will just say this. There's two ways to write a story, and I'm doing it the way I would never do. You know, it's the second way. The first way you come up with the story is you actually come up with a fucking actual hook, a plot, an idea. You know what I mean? Like, here's an idea. A rebellion fights a galactic empire. You know what I mean? A rebel alliance fights a galactic empire. It's like the Civil War set in space.
Ooh,
That's an idea. That's an idea. Oh yeah, it's amazing, Rob. Right? And then you find, you know, what you don't do, right, is I got a bunch of characters. I got a guy named Luke, and I got a guy named Leia, and I got a guy named Vader, and I'm gonna find something for all to fucking do. You know what I mean? And hope this works. That's what you don't do. And because of the way I sold Game Cave initially, as a game magazine that had editors that were not real, right? I had to take a bunch of characters and create a fucking story out of it that didn't involve writing a magazine. You know what I mean?
Right.
I worked at a game that is the least fucking interesting thing ever. It would be the worst thing to have them all sitting there writing games. There are moments where they have to work on it, but it's like we did all this shit, we got shit to do, and we got to fucking go do work cuz that is how I relate my job. You know what I mean? Like that's what working on the podcast or working on Game Cave or working on my art is in my life. There's all this other crazy shit going on, and at 2 a.m. I have to get this done too. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, so to figure out what that arc, that narrative would be, to develop the world that that would go into, then to kind of branch that out within one book plus the other shit I want to do, um, that's where pessimistic is not the word. That's where the vulnerability comes from, because that is not how I operate, Brandon. Like,
Right.
if I were to do this from scratch, I would have only had one lead character or a second. You know what I mean? I like the dual opposites. I wouldn't have started with a team of people. Matter of fact, I kind of trimmed it down to 3 characters. Mochi has a completely separate existence in this book. You know, she's not. It's not 4 girls on a team. You know, I don't need 4 people. 3 is enough trouble, and really it comes down to 2. I ended up working it so it's really about Cat and Truffles, and then there's extra layers of stuff. You know what I mean? And that was very difficult for me to do. It's not going to be perfect the first time out. You know, I just think go along the ride, and as I make the newer stuff that I have, like Ghoul Gears and Dragon Heist and stuff, those have all been made with an actual idea. You know what I mean? That I'll then create characters that fill the needs of the idea. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, and that's the hard part. That's where the vulnerability comes from. But it has been solved. I was fortunate in that I made a good call. I think when the shit went down with the other guy, and my bank account was wiped out. No. We were fixing power prints and stuff, or I was fixing power prints. Um, I stopped drawing, and I spent my entire days outside of my house doing this at a coffee shop. You know?
Right. Kind of got you away from the chaos to have kind of a place to go to
Well, and
center
that's what I tried
yourself.
to tell people when I updated Game Cave about when I did the first update a month ago. I said, this is not something that I did on top of other shit to do. It's how I escaped all the other shit going on. I turned this into, well, I'm just going to go here and live somewhere. And so it forced me to I created a world I wanted to live in. That's not a happy place too. You know what I mean? It's a dangerous place. So I was able to do that. And I won't lie, there were days where I was just sitting there, dum 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 dum, don't know what to do, don't know what to do, And I would just type something. I was like, I'm never gonna be able to write a book. You know what I mean? I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing here. But I know how to craft a story. I've been doing this for years. When I grew up, I had a shitty fucking existence, and I had a shitty fucking life, and I had it wasn't like I lived in Iraq bad, but it was like the worst parts of Breaking Bad bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would come up with stories and ideas, not the art. I would come up with stories and ideas, usually based around things I like. So it was a lot of fan fiction in that way. Ghostbusters 2, Turtle comics, usually sequels to movies, because movies I had access to more than comics or anything else. And in my head, I would interview myself, as if I had written this and I was the director at the time. Because I didn't know about a writer. I just figured director did all this stuff.
Right.
George Lucas, Tim Burton, Jim Cameron. I figured George Lucas wrote his shit. Jim Cameron wrote his shit. I figured that's what you did. You wrote stuff and it became a movie. I didn't know. And so I would interview myself as if I were a director and how I would do this while I was doing endless labor and bullshit. So while I was packing stuff up, while I was cleaning the plate, getting everything, this is how I would fill the story in my head and work out the actual hook of it. And it has worked out. It's enough. I always said, long as the books achieve a slightly higher than your average comic book level, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Rob is good. I don't need it to be more than that. So that's what I've been doing there. And then what else has been going on? My plans for the future. Uh, I will say that I have enough to carry me through about 15 books right now. And it's not all Game Cave. It's this, it's that, it's this. And if you're like, Rob, you'll change your mind, now want to do something in the future, the odds of that happening are very nil because I've had these ideas for about 15 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, for a long time.
Yeah, I just haven't had, and I want to explain why I can say this and mean it. Because Game Cave is an idea that I had pitched for 4 or 5 years straight now to actual publishers. And it's not that people told me no. It's that publishers told me there were 2 reasons why it won't work. One is Diamond. Diamond is the only distributor for comic books and publications to the direct market, right? So in order for them to publish it, Diamond would have to approve of it. It's not a book, it's not a comic. You know what I mean? And it has a format that they can't sell easily, so they would be kind of against it. And two, the size. If you're thinking, 8.5 by 11, or smaller, I said, well, what about digest? Comic book size was always a weird format for me. It's kind of like no one else uses that format. They were designed to be on racks that were thin and tall. You know what I mean? We've just kept it for some reason. No one uses that fucking format. And it's cheaper to use an 8.5 by 11. And it actually costs you just as much to do 6 by 10 as it does 8.5 by 11. Can you believe that? So I'm like, well, if it's going to cost me the same, why doesn't the audience just get more real estate? The art looks better anyway, you know? And the reason is, the second reason why they said it would work is because direct market retailers will not carry it because it takes up too much shelf space. And so I said, this is back in 2010 was the last time I had this conversation. I just stopped talking after that to people. It was with Tom on the way to Phoenix Con. And I said, well, if I can find a way to not, it was 2011, sorry. If I can find a way to not have to deal with Diamond or retailers, then I'm gold, right? And he was like, well, pretty much, you know. I'm like, perfect. And I have found that. And it is called Kickstarter. Catch my drift? Catch my drift? Like, so long as crowdfunding exists, whether I make $500 or $500,000 off my ideas, I have a place to create stuff and sell it. And it doesn't involve me saving up all my savings to print up 300 copies and store them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can complete the work, and in the future, all the books will be complete before I go to Kickstarter. Go to Kickstarter or whatever else it is in the future and pitch it, and I know I can always print at least the minimum run. You know? I have enough art talent to make that happen.
And anyone can get it. You know, you don't have to worry about, did a store in Ohio get your books? You know,
right. And if a store wants to make an order for 100, or or for whatever, or a distributor or a publisher wants to hook up with me, then that's a possibility. And I don't have to sign a stupid deal where they own everything I do for 5 years or that bullshit. So that's how I can say I would be doing this. If this existed 10 years ago, this is what I would have done. I never would have even dealt with trying to deal with comic book companies, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and I love the process. I love writing every night. I write 3 times a week, you know? And I draw 3 times a week, you know? And things take a little longer, but they are getting done. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so it take a little longer, but how much are we talking about? And if it's longer means the quality's there and I get to create the stuff I want to create, then what the fuck do I care, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it.
And not to blow smoke up your ass, but, you know, I know of your future plans of stories, and I'm excited, you know, especially for some of the other superhero stories. And
I know what you're talking about, and the way that's going to happen is I'll do, like, a game cave, and then, like, a separate thing that's a one-off book.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is 2 a year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and if Game Cave completes and I don't want to do Game Cave 4 right away, then that would be 2 one-offs. You know what I mean? Or maybe a sequel, you know, to something that was really popular. So, but I do have enough Game Cave for 6 volumes, plus I have something very special that runs 3 volumes that I need time to do. I can't even get into it, but let's just say I have enough work for 15 books right now. And I'm not coming up with new ideas, you know? I mean, sometimes you get an idea, I have a place to store them. So if some idea I get is way better than one of them, I'll definitely replace it, you know? But
All
the
right.
stuff you know about, that's happening in the next 2 to 3 years. Guaranteed. So,
All I got to do is not die.
well, judging by the way you've been breathing into the microphone the last couple of weeks, you know, it's questionable. It's questionable, Brandon.
Oh.
All right, let's move on. You pick something.
All right, we talked about this before, but pleasing your fans versus knowing when you've given enough to people.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Correct. Okay. I know with the last predicament with the last person, business partner, you had a lot of problems, and now you're having to go back and, fix things with fans and people and such. And I mean, just sometimes you feel like people want or expect too much when you're already giving them extras or trying to make sure they're taken care of. Or is this just the dumbest question I've ever asked?
Okay, repeat that again, because you lost me somewhere in the I know, you know, I know. It's not a tangible. Say it specifically.
Okay. Someone doesn't get their complete order, and therefore you complete their order and also give them maybe an extra print or two. Do you feel like too many people are asking for too much? No, this question I can't.
Did you try to come up with this, or do you actually mean to ask this?
I actually mean this because you were saying that you had fans in other countries. We've talked about this before, that maybe say they didn't get their prints, or they didn't get enough, or they didn't get the right stuff, and then you have to go back and fix that mistake, and you also offer to give people extra.
Okay, first let's talk about one thing. If someone purchased something on the Kickstarter and I shipped the wrong thing, it's on me to ship them the right thing at my cost. There's no, and they could keep that. I'm not saying where the other guy would make the mistake is if he sent something out that was wrong, he would then say, well, you need to reship me that shit before I send you your stuff. And you need to pay for shipping for the stuff I resend. Did you see the problem inherent in that? That logic, right? So my logic is simple. If I fucked up, I fix it. Right? Now, if you ordered something, I shipped it to you, and you said, well, that shipped a month or two late, can I get some extra goodies in return? There's no obligation for me to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
None whatsoever. The obligation is to fulfill what you bought. You know? If they had to wait a year, and I know this person was like a big fan, and they backed a bunch of stuff, and do I personally feel like I should throw some extra shit in there? Well, yeah, and there's things I can do for that. You know what I mean? The other thing that's kind of mixed up in your explanation is promising free things to hold off ever having to ship the product. And that's what the other guy did that cost me a boatload of money, bro. Because fucking, when you don't ship stuff and you want to hold people off, hey guys, don't worry, since you waited, you're going to get all this other stuff. I'm like, now this is a fucking dude who sat there and told me, that, like, I didn't charge enough for the Avengers shit, that you can't give stuff away for free, no. And then he goes and fucking doesn't ship anything and gives a bunch of stuff away for free. And I'm like, well, where's the fucking logic in that? And I know why he did it, because, whether he realized it or not, the end goal is he never planned on shipping shit. He sent me an email, just to set the record straight, I didn't reply to it. Because if he's listening to the fucking podcast, understand this. You didn't ship shit you never intended to. Consciously or subconsciously. If you meant to, you would have shipped stuff. I don't have, there's no gray area for me on this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Backers buy stuff with the expectation of, if you say it's complete and all I have to do is ship it to you, then they're expecting a product. Right? If they back an idea that you will then go and start to create, then really they're backing the idea that you're going to be able to do it. And if you pass or fail, you're vocal, you show your old steps and why it didn't work out. You catch my drift?
Yes.
I don't back ideas. My rule for Kickstarter was I go there with completed shit. The whole reason why I did the fucking Avengers nonsense was because it was done. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to take another 7 months to fucking start doing shit because I wanted to raise some money to go to PhoenixCon. So what do I have that's now? People are selling fan art. Wasn't the only guy doing it. I'm like, cool, let me give that a shot. Turn into a fucking nightmare. Game Cave was an idea, okay, that Josh pushed me to fucking put on there. We gotta have something now, gotta have something now. And I was like, well, what if we did that? Yeah, that's fine, do that. But the reality is it was an idea that wasn't ready, you know? I knew it would take at least a year, is what and I compromised on that for the sake of, well, we gotta fucking pay bills, you know? And look where it's right where I said it would be. You know what I mean? It's right there.
Yeah.
Currently working on it. So to get back into what people are worth and everything else, you know, pay, you know, you have to give people what they paid for. You know, if you can't fulfill on it, you have two options. You either admit defeat and fucking never go back to Kickstarter, or you fucking refund them. You know, I refuse to admit defeat, so I have fulfilled Power Prints 2 and 3 on my own dime. If and the shit I fucked up was minimal, bro. Out of 500 people, I got like 5, you know, that didn't get the right thing. The people who didn't get their Avenger shit, now I got about 20 more of those lying here. Those are people Josh willingly didn't fucking ship for whatever reason. You know? I don't even know. I have no clue. I have sent emails out to them. I have the funds out of my savings set aside to ship them, but I refuse to ship them to addresses that are a year old. You know? So I have sent mass emails out, which I know get fucking sent to spam filters. You know? And then as people say, you know, where's my fucking shit? I look at them. I have it right here. Here's the photograph. I send an email. I'll ship it to you. You know?
I think how I should have worded that question or topic would have been fulfillment.
Right. You just don't know how to use the words.
Yeah. I don't know how to
And when is enough enough? You're only owe what you owe. Don't feel like if you something shipped late, you have to give them free shit.
All right. Because I guess also my perspective on it was, you know, when someone gets a commission from me, right? And let's say I say a month and it goes on to like a day or two over the month and you get that email from them like, well, where's my commission? And I'm like, well, do you want this shit, you know, today? Or can you give me that extra leeway and just know that I'll hook you up and make it look that much better if you're not pressuring me? And I guess that's how I was trying to word it, is when people buy something from us as artists and, you know, they don't realize
Okay, well, now let me tell you about it. They're buying you to make some art. First off, no refunds ever.
Okay.
That's it. You know? You pay up front. I go make the art and you get it. If you're unhappy with how long it took, you don't fucking have to ever, you know what I mean, buy from me again.
Right.
Now, if I have no intentions of drawing that, then I'll refund the money. I don't not refund the money and keep the fucking, I don't keep the money and not draw on some shit.
Right, I'd never do that either, but.
So, I think that's pretty simple. But you don't then give them, oh, I'll upgrade this to 11 by 17 and I'll throw this in. No, you got your art, you know?
Yeah, I think I've done that before to where, you know, it went from an 8 by 11 to an 11 by 14.
No, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. They paid for that. They didn't pay for you to draw it tomorrow. No one pays for me to overnight this shit. You know? First off, no art is made when, you know, it's art, bro. You know, it's hard enough when you're in an art department and you got to produce on demand. Second of all, if they're harassing you, it's the least motivating. Look, the more you harass me, the longer I take. You know?
Yeah.
Like, and I hate to, I would refrain from using that verbiage with them because then it's like you're holding their shit for ransom and that can get you in all kinds of trouble too.
Right.
So what you have to do in that case is take a deep breath and respond to that email 24 hours later. Catch my drift?
Right. I've given it myself some time to calm down.
And I literally mean, you put the timer 24 hours, run it, and you don't even start typing until you don't even think about it. You don't have the endless conversation in your head while you're cooking. This fucking guy, can't believe it. No. Talking to the wife. I don't know. Can you believe this guy? See this guy sit over here? No. Sit over here. Call up fucking Andy. Andy, fucking dudes. Can't believe it. No. Fucking while you're on Super Mario Kart playing Mario Kart, this fucking dude and fucking Turtle Shell. You know, I'm gonna hit this guy like I'm gonna hit this fucking dude who like. You know, that's what you don't do, Brandon. You hit the timer and you say, look, when that thing's up, I can have all the conversation I want to have. I can say whatever I want to say, right? Free reign. But I can't think about it or respond to it until that timer's up. And I guarantee you, when that thing's done, you will reply with 3 words. You know? A sentence at the most. It really won't be hard. And none of them will involve giving free shit or upgrading nonsense.
I've since changed this topic to fulfillment and fan expectations.
Well, that's Skechcraft, dude. That's why when people go, well, what's the topic for this episode? I'm like, I don't fucking know. And I think what's really funny is sometimes I find something we talk about to be interesting, but it only lasts 5 minutes, you know? And some people go, I thought that topic was going to last longer. And I'm like, I don't know how to run. Sometimes a really interesting topic was only 5 minutes. So what do I put on the name of the podcast? The thing that took the longest to talk about or the thing that's the most interesting?
Right.
You know? Well, you could have expanded upon it. Well, then explain how you would like it expanded upon, and I'll follow up next cast. You know?
Right.
Like, I don't work in a world where I fucking manipulate the cast to fit what I think is going to be interesting. You catch my drift?
Right. You don't make the podcast to get more downloads or more follows. You get it because it's things we want to talk about.
Right.
And it's real stuff that I fuck up all the time. And
Or I fuck up, and I'm like, hey, here's some shit I fucked up. You know what I mean? Or here's how this shit's fucking whatever. But if I manipulated the podcast for likes, first off, I'd be just doing what I do at work all day. You know?
right.
Creating things, hoping it would trend. And two, it wouldn't be sincere. And I consider the podcast to be a 20 to 30 year thing. Catch my drift? Everything I do from here on out is thinking 20 years down the road. It's the breadth of the work. It has nothing to do with, well, I need to get these fucking quick likes now. Because what happens in fucking 5 years? The whole internet stops using a like button. You know what I mean? Now I just have a vapid fucking show where I sit around coming up with fucking nonsense. And you want to know it? People hear truth. And you know something? The people that hear the truth are the least amount of people. You know?
Mm-hmm.
This is not this is not something I create for the widest possible audience. You know? It's for the fucking people who are sitting there thinking that they're fucking nuts, you know, but they have an opinion or a feeling about art or shit that's going on in the art industry or things that they've dealt with, and they think they're crazy, you know, for ever thinking it, and everyone, you know, says otherwise or all the topics are nonsense. And then this is a place for you to come because I have those feelings. I'm like, dude, you know, the fulfillment thing, what kind of place? First off, most Kickstarter podcasts, if they do a podcast devoted to Kickstarter, how long do you think you could listen to that? You know what I mean? Like
right.
that would it's just like almost like promotion for Kickstarter. Two, you know, it would always be prefaced with like, now this is what James does that drives me fucking nuts, where you preface everything with an apology before you start to say your opinion. Now, before I fucking offend, you know, no, let me tell you, I love everything and everything I love so much and I love it, but I don't like this here, but I kind of do love you, so don't get your feelings hurt, you know, like, bro, here's my fucking opinion on it. Here's why I think that way. If you disagree, great, fucking let me know, you know? But you better explain why you disagree. And if you have a valid point, I'll fucking go, you know, dude's got points. Consider that shit. You know, you on the other hand rarely have a valid point. You have a very valid feeling, you know? And you're trying in that new artist way to take those feelings and put them into an actual phrase, you know? But it's a jumble fuck half the time, you know? And it's my job, right? This is my part of the show where I have to say, okay, now I know what I've been through. I mean, here's what you mean. You mean this or do you mean this? And you're like, why? It's more this way. So then we veer this way. And then when you listen to that, you go, that ain't that. I'm actually talking about this way over here. So then we go to that. You see what I mean? And that's how actual conversations occur. You know? That's how real conversations occur. And not, hey, let's put on the podcast voice. You know, and let's make fucking witty jokes. You know? Like, ooh. Like, Brandon's your battered wife, you know? Oh, and it's funny because Brandon loves all things battered. Ha 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 ha. You see what I mean? Like, oh, I'm a funny podcast guy now. Like, catch my drift, Brandon?
Yeah.
All right. That's why I hate cleverness and all things clever. You know?
Skechcraft Digibooks launched, and it's a success.
Now, normally podcasts would start off with selfless promotions, right? And we'd be running 10 fucking ads. I believe most people won't get this message until like 3 years from now. You know what I mean? When they're like, there was a Kickstarter. So let me just talk about that. I finally launched Skechcraft Digibooks, and it's already met its funding goals plus my wildest dreams scenario. So let me explain what that means. Skechcraft Digibooks. When I first started the podcast, I thought it would be fun to take all the steps I did, put it into a PDF, you'd listen to the podcast, download the PDF. The problem with that was no one was downloading the PDF. I have the download numbers. We're talking 40 at the most. And I said, well, for 40 downloads, I could probably sell that on, I mean, I could sell 40 downloads. You know what I mean? Like, I'm giving it away for free. And quite frankly, I just don't have an audience. So I shelved that idea and focused more on the podcast element, you know? Took all the PDFs down and then just kind of focused on these topics, which people seem to like more anyway. Because I couldn't draw enough, you know what I mean, to keep that going.
Right.
And people were like, I like the little topics and the mini. I called them mini rants. That's why they were called minis and Sketchcraft Mini for the longest time, because I considered the big thing to be this fucking workbook shit. But it was also weird because, like, having re-listened to those podcasts, I couldn't reuse that dialogue at the time. I had to recreate all of it for this Kickstarter because it was peppered with all the new shit going on. It took 43 minutes to fucking start talking about the PDF, you know? Because I would be having this conversation like we're having, but like with myself. So, about earlier this year, it first started off as kind of a joke where Josh was like, you know, we need something where, you know, it doesn't cost anything to ship because that requires him to do work. And fucking, I said, well, I've been thinking about doing this thing called DigiCraft where I would take all the steps like I used to do for the podcast and I could put up these PDFs with audio commentary and give people a step because I do really believe, Brandon, I don't like speed videos, you know? I used to. I own $3,000 worth of Gnome on fucking shit, okay? In my closet. It's a real number. And I make speed videos. My problem with speed videos is it makes me feel like I gotta draw as fast as the speed videos, you know? You don't really get the time or the inclination of where things went wrong or why they did certain things. You just get sort of a commentary and in 10 minutes it's over. Maybe at the most like Nomon, you see it for like 40 minutes or an hour. But you're seeing 12 hours worth of work. Plus,
it's like highlights. You're just seeing the highlights of the art.
you're seeing the highlights and you're seeing projects that were designed. Like, okay, because I can see how it works. Well, you know, robots are trending on Nomon, so we need to have another robot DVD. How many fucking people are buying robots from artists, dude? Like, have you gotten a robot job, dude?
No.
I don't know one fucking artist who's gotten a robot job. You know, that sounds bad. You know, who's gotten work to illustrate robots for the sake of selling robot-related materials? Do you catch my drift?
I will take robot jobs if anyone's listening.
Right. Like, robot jobs. Oh, that just went so off the beaten path. Oh, no. See cleverness. See clever? Never mind. So you have to be quick, folks. But yeah, I don't... So you would see these guys creating things that you're like, okay, but they couldn't sell their work that they'd done for the real shit because you have to get release forms and da. Luckily for me, everywhere I've ever worked, aside from Big Dog, has gone out of business. There's nowhere for anyone to come after me for anything, you know? Plus, it's for educational usage, which I found that out, you know? Like, it's really for the soul. So, Tom doesn't really care. He, you know, it's the same way you make a sketchbook. See what I mean? Here's a sketchbook full of all my stuff, you know? And if Tom or if Dave or if anyone was going to come after me for making a sketchbook, then they're going to come after for this too. It does nothing but promote their shit. You know what I mean? Here's how I made this cover. Go get the cover now. So it falls into a different category. Now, the reason why I didn't do it right away was because, one, I knew it was going to take longer than I thought, as all projects do. Anytime you come with a project, figure out how long it's going to take you, then multiply that by 3. You know? That's how long it'll take. So I did the math, and I'm like, that's going to take like 3 or 4 months to put together. And Josh was like, it doesn't matter, just get it up now. And then the other reason why is I felt like if I did that, somehow I wouldn't see a dime from this. And I knew that the Sketchcraft, this Digibook thing, wouldn't raise a ton of money. Because it's a very niche topic for a very niche audience. So what I really wanted to do with it was raise enough money to maybe go to a convention so I didn't have to pay. And then pay for the podcast fees, which come out to like $300 a year. So even if I didn't make one dime, if I had a goal of $500, it paid for the podcast. See what I mean? And problem solved. So it's so far raised about $2,700. Probably, I'd say it could probably cross the 3,000 line. It's got about, 12 more days to go?
I hope so.
Time of this podcast. Where will the money go? Well, one, it's going to cover the podcast. I'll sign up for at least, 1 or 2 years, depending on how that works out. And then 2, I have to take the remaining funds $2,100 fucking dollars of it and go refund the Kickstarter that fucking Josh created called Skechcraft, Sketch Gear, whatever, these Boba Fett shirts that he went and did that I told him not to do. He went and did anyway for a fucking week, you know. I said, it's your thing. I want nothing to do with it. I told you not to do this. Oh, it's not going to be a big deal. He never printed fucking the shirts. And he, left me with the fucking bill. So I got to go pay those fucking guys off. I had to create one Kickstarter to pay off another, you know. Which I don't care about because, like, whatever. You know what I mean? I just want the backers. These backers are getting a lot for their money. So what I try to do is create a Kickstarter. I mean, I'm going to be honest, bro. I'm giving away a lot for $20. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, right now we're up to what? Fucking 15 books, 15 digital books plus an hour or two of podcast per. That's 30 hours of fucking podcast, dude. You know what I mean? That's fucking...
We spent a couple weekends just
Oh.
solid.
Oh, yeah. If everyone wants to know why there hasn't been a regular podcast since June, it's because Brandon and I have been recording these fucking Digicraft podcasts every weekend since, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in some cases, we had to re-record. And I'll tell you where we're re-recording is Update 5 is the Crittercast. Remember we recorded that one?
Yeah.
Can't use it because we talk about a bunch of other shit. So I'm going to re-listen to it, but I'm pretty certain that'll have to be re-recorded, you know?
Yeah.
So, anyway, dude, it's doing really well. And all I had really hoped was, one, if it had made the 500, then at least the podcast is covered. If it broke 2,100, then that's fucking awesome because I can use that to pay off the fucking Sketch Gears thing, and get that out my hair. Anything beyond that is going to file my LLC, which is going to cost me about $2,000. I don't think I'm going to make fucking $4,000 or $5,000 with this, but it'll be towards that payment,
And for people that don't know what that is,
An LLC is a limited liability company. Now, so I actually have a reseller's permit and I pay reseller's taxes, all that stuff. It also protects me in the event that someone tries to sue my ass. So they can only sue the Skechcraft and not my personal bank account, Now, you could go to LegalZoom and get it done for $500, but there's a lot of things that don't get you protected when you go that route that LegalZoom will never tell you. And I sat down with an actual fucking, CPA, fucking all these. I sat down with actual business people and when the shit went down with fucking Josh and shit and figured out what the ideal strategy is for me,
Right.
And
So never half-ass it when you're protecting yourself.
no, and that's what I did last time. And I'm never going to go that route again. It's going to cost, to get it done, to get my articles there's this whole thing about articles of fucking stuff for your business that you'll get. All this shit that has to be done, it's going to cost about $2,000, So it's about $1,500 for all that and then $500 for their fee. And whatever extra will go towards that down payment while I go put together PowerPrints fucking 4 so I can try to raise the remainder of the money to fucking get the LLC and then also to fucking try to pay back some of my savings. Because right now, dude, if I lost my job, I'd be in trouble. You know what I mean? And I don't think people understand, like, I went through a lot of shit the last few years with GameFan, last 4 years. Never spent my savings. No matter how bad it got, Brandon, never did it.
Right.
Because I was like, it may be bad, but it's not unsolvable. Owing the money to print and ship PowerPrints 2, 3 was an unsolvable problem, short of using my savings. There was no way I could raise an extra $10,000 on the side that didn't involve a 5-year plan. Or in this case, a 4-year plan, because that's how long it took me to fucking save it. So I bit the bullet and Josh knew I had that money, so I'm willing to bet he was like, well, Rob's got money, I don't, so fuck him, Guarantee you that's a conversation. So fuck you too, asshole, for fucking, and that's my mistake, Brandon, for being a guy who's a little too open with his life, Like, I'll never mention, no one knows who I date. No one knows if I'm gay or not gay. You know what I mean? No one knows, there's no pictures of my fucking animals except for that one time my dog and cat got in the picture for the PowerPrints.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. No one knows what I'm up to. But the fact that I talk to my friends about my money is something that will never happen again. You know what I mean? And
secretly, we're in love, Rob.
You're fucking ugly, dude. I don't even know how your wife touches you. Like, I could do way better than you. So,
For anyone listening, please go to my stuff and then let me know that I'm not ugly. Let me know I'm beautiful, tall, sexy. Please do.
The only person who should be telling you that is your wife.
I just want to read the comments to you. That's all.
No one comments. You know how much effort that takes.
Right? No one cares.
No one cares. I don't care. And I'm the guy. I'm the only one in this situation who would care. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that runs us about an hour. We could save the other topics for next time because that's resolved itself. So we'll deal with that then. I just need to move into the main topic because this is taking long enough as it is. Actually, why don't we record that as a second cast and I can post that 2 weeks from now? How about we do that?
Sounds good.
So let's just wrap this up. Brandon, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me Instagram at LeadHeavy, Twitter at LeadHeavy, DeviantArt, LeadHeavyArt, Facebook, LeadHeavy.
Jesus, bro, that's a lot of plugs. Anything LeadHeavy at LeadHeavy.com. How about that?
Well, I usually don't.
You start yanking around Facebook, Twitter, DeviantArt. You know what I mean? And
Well, I never said the DeviantArt.
you don't update any of them, dude. Like
that's true. Hey, you can just find me on Instagram and sometimes Twitter. Instagram is the easiest
just plug one. The most important thing. Where can they find you?
Instagram at LeadHeavy.
Perfect. There you go. That's all you need to say, right? Like you guys, honestly, just find me at Facebook under Skechcraft. You know, Sketch, the name of the podcast, CRAFT.com. Perfect. I'll see you on the next cast. Talk later. Bye.
Skechcraft is recorded in front of a live internet audience and supported by listeners like you. Please be sure to leave a review on iTunes, like and share our Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All links can be found at Skechcraft.com. That's Skechcraft, C-R-A-F-T, the name of the podcast.com. Remember, every little bit counts and it all helps to grow the show. Thanks.